Welcome back, innit? Clear my throat. I've been feeling a bit ill recently. Just had like a little chesty mucus cough. It's been a minute. I haven't recorded an episode by myself. I'd say well over 3 months. I thought what I wanted to do and I thought what I could do was dedicate the next entirety of the series or of all my issues with guests and fill it with, you know, like loved ones, friends, family, and also just like random people that maybe I don't know, people I've never met before that maybe I could find interesting and just find, you know, topic of conversation with. However, I've somehow found myself needing to sit back down and go back to square one again, which was recording by myself, or at least having a few episodes where I recorded by myself, issues where I record by myself, articulate my thoughts, and yeah, man, just go over a few things that I've been thinking, a few things that I've been feeling. And yeah, I think it's kind of necessary still. Recently, I've been living in my head quite a lot. There's a few people that maybe watching this, maybe not watching this could vouch. And I think as much as it's important to live in your head and like sit with your thoughts and sit with the things that like run through your mind, it's also a bit of a dangerous one. Like you can't really sit in there for too long and you can't really dwell on certain things for too long. And that's what I've kind of found myself doing a little bit. And part of that I feel has been because I ain't been doing the things that are necessary and unnecessary for me, you know what I mean? Like I've kind of just been coasting a bit, kind of just been on autopilot, getting away with doing the bare minimum and thinking that's enough, and really and truly it's not. So things like my backlog on episodes and issues have burnt out, I've ran them out completely. So now it's pretty much record, edit and upload. Like there's no like delay in time, there's no nothing, which to an extent I'm not too mad about. I think it's good because now everything that I post is up to date. Do you know what I mean? Everything that I post is relevant to what I'm currently experiencing. And I did want to get to a point where that was a thing. And I guess I just got there a lot more sooner than what I expected, which can be a scary thing, but also doesn't have to be, you know? But hey, here I am. So yeah, man, I think on the topic of that in itself, like shying away from the things that I've had to be doing and the things that were necessary has kind of put me in a little rut. And I think that's why I've been living in my head quite a bit too much, because I've got too much free time and spare time, and oftentimes like you try to distract yourself with certain things, but you still catch yourself there in that moment. And me as a person, like I know when I start to feel a little anxious or a little off, or just like when my vibe starts to like skew a little bit and go a bit sideways, I've now kind of understood that that's an indicator that like something needs to change, like something needs to happen. I need to kind of seek direction a little bit. I need to do something, get up and do something. And I always try to figure what that one out is before I do it. And for the most part, it's good, don't get me wrong. But at the same time, I also feel like sometimes you just need to do, and you can kind of find out what it was that you had to do along the way of doing certain things. And I guess this is me trying to find my redemption in a way, So this is, funny enough, not the first episode that I recorded since my birthday, which by the way, birthday was August, end of August, 28th of August. It's now October. Like we're just past mid-October. Yeah, crazy, right? But I did record one episode in between that time, which didn't end up releasing, which is fine. So yeah, here I am. And there's a few things that I kind of wanted to explore here. Kind of just wanted to sit down and think about certain things and just kind of articulate where, not necessarily where I stand with them, but like the thought processes behind certain things. And I was recommended this book by someone I call T. It's called Against the Loveless World. and it's a novel. It's about a woman and her life experiences. So she's Palestinian by heritage, but she was born in Jordan, lived in Kuwait, and she lived in Kuwait at the time of when, like, just before Saddam Hussein invaded and liberated Kuwait. During the period where the US then invaded Kuwait and took it away from Saddam Hussein, and then after that she moves to Palestine. And she records her accounts in Palestine as well, just what was happening over there in terms of like when people wanted to make it Israel, and like all the events that lead up to it, and just the nature of what life was like out there in it, which, by the way, it's pretty crazy, it's pretty intense, and it's quite unjust, you know what I'm saying? It's quite unjust, and there's a lot of themes that tie into that sort of stuff, but there's one particular thing that I kind of wanted to explore a little, and it's the topic of capitalism, innit? So one thing that I've noticed a lot, and before I read this book, there was another book that I was reading called The Trick, and The Trick is a book about why some people can make money and why others can't. And one of the common topics in that book about like money and making money and why some people can make money and why others can't kind of stems around, especially like when it comes to making money quick and making money by a means which isn't through doing what you love, but more so just for the sake of seeking money and earning money. And this is something that I've thought about too and explored too, but basically why some people can make money and others can't is because the ones that can make money are not through by doing what they love, but mainly through just seeking money and finding ways to make money, is because they let money guide their morals and values. And depending on how you see certain things, right, and I guess this is the big debate and the big topic of spirituality, religion, good versus evil, like the spiritual battle of, you know, good and bad, and you have, I guess you can call it God and devil and all that sort of stuff, is money is one of those superficial things where if it's not your end all and be all, it's a good and resourceful tool, and that's all it should ever be. But if money is your end all and be all, if that is your number one driving force in this life, if that is what gets you out of bed every morning, what you look towards every single day of your life, what you try to dedicate all your time and being around so that you can earn more money, money becomes the decider of your values and the decider of like your moral compass. And I think everyone in general inside of them, their moral compass guides them, and it's orientated or calibrated, you could say, in a universal way. So everyone knows like and can differentiate the good from the bad. Do you know what I'm saying? It's not very easy, but it's very easy. There's obviously some grey areas where some people may differ than others, but for the most part, we can all agree that we all understand just a general basis around what's good and bad. So for example, like something bad would be exploiting others, something bad doing harm to others, something bad is, don't know, cheating, lying, stealing, abuse, like all that sort of stuff. And good would be helping others, helping your community, helping yourself, like doing things that benefit yourself, doing things that benefit others, like giving back, like, I don't know. But it's very easy just to like differentiate between the two. But the issue is that when you're guided by something superficial, like money, for example, that orientation of your morals, or that like calibration of your compass, your inner compass, it kind of gets messed up a little. And in order for the people that are able to make money, they have to allow that like compass to be orientated slightly differently. And what happens, and what tends to happen is you start to override what the norm of morals are. So now bad things are maybe in a grey area, and you can justify why you would do something bad just for the sake of gaining money. And that's a scary thing. It's a scary thought, because part of what life is the responsibility of being the best version of yourself possible and being a good human being. I don't really see how there's any other way. Like, if you're on earth and, you know, you walk this earth freely, like, why would you choose any other path than to be the best version of yourself and to just be a good human being? And if you're allowing your morals to be compromised for the sake of financial gain, it doesn't even have to be financial gain. It could be for the sake of power. It could be for the sake of fame. It could be for the sake of women or men. It could be for the sake of drugs, for sexual pleasure. It could be for the sake of anything superficial by that matter, yeah? Then you allow these morals to get compromised, because now you justify a gain which is your end all and be all, for example, money, and you can justify why doing something bad is actually good. And the only person you're really and truly lying to is yourself. So yeah, I stopped that book halfway through because I could just see that coming, and it's not really something that I align with. And I was just like, this ain't for me. It's not really my kind of thing. It's not really like it's not really the lane that I want to head down. So I just kind of put that book to the side and started reading this one instead. And it was funny though. It was funny that happened, because in this book, you can kind of see how that manifests itself in the real world, yeah? And why I wanted to bring up capitalism. So capitalism is good. It allows you the ability to use money as a tool to facilitate certain things, and to do that freely without feeling or without restrictions. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's a good thing. Like, if you're using money as a tool, great. Like, if you use drugs as a tool, I mean, I don't endorse it, but great. Do you know what I'm saying? There's certain things like, don't know, you can say marijuana, you can say mushrooms, you can say DMT, or you can say all these kind of things that are like natural from the earth, that have been given to us, that have been criminalized and have been made illegal, which really and truly, if you use it as a tool, it's a good thing. And that's not gibberish, and that's just not mere like fantasy. Do you know what I'm saying? In the 80s, they was doing studies around MDMA, around mushrooms and all that stuff, and how it benefits mental health. And what they found was that mushrooms, especially mushrooms, psilocybin mushrooms, was a one-stop shop for a cure when it came to mental health. And the sad thing is that Big Pharma, for the sake of financial gain, power and wealth, decided that's not good for humans, and what's actually good for humans is drugs that don't offer a cure but offer a treatment. Why? Because now we have a repeat customer rather than a one-stop shop buyer. And again, it's very easy, therefore, to say that like capitalism has a hand in facilitating that. And it's very easy also then to say and to see how having money as your end goal and your number one value and priority in life can cause you to make bad choices and justify those bad choices. So why would you choose to make a cure illegal but a treatment legal? Why would you choose to have and risk someone's health where they could be cured and live a bit more of a peaceful life for the sake of making them a repeat customer at the cost of their health and the cost of their mental well-being, just so that you can have more financial gain? So this is the road that I want to go down. Again, I don't think capitalism is a bad thing, and that doesn't mean that now I agree with communism or whatever the alternative might be. I just think there should be better alternatives to how certain things are run. And I was listening to a Joe Rogan podcast not too long ago, and I can't remember who it was with, but I think it was with Billy Carson. And they were saying that like capitalism's great and it should have its finger in certain pies, but not all pies. Things like your health shouldn't have a hand in that, and it shouldn't dictate what happens there. Maybe things like housing, things like food and what you eat, things like that. Like, it really shouldn't dictate how those things flow, but unfortunately it does, because the people at the top controlling what happens have been able to find ways to exploit those systems so that they can continue earning even more money as if they don't have enough already. And that's what greed does to you. That's what corruption does to you. That's what the seeking of power does to you. And that's what putting these superficial things above all and as your number one priority does. It decalibrates your moral compass, and then you start justifying doing bad things for the sake of a gain, which in the end, you don't take it with you. When you die, you don't take your money with you. When you die, you don't take your status with you. When you die, you don't take all the drugs with you that you've taken. When you die, you don't take all the people that you've slept with that you like with you. You don't. So I understand life is an experience. You want to come here and experience everything, but measured though. Do you know what I'm saying? Experience it measured, fam. Like, have a balance of everything and never stray away from the most important thing, which is being the best person you can be, whether that's to yourself or to others. In fact, both, to yourself and to others. So how this ties back into what I was trying to say. And in the book, the author, or let's say the woman of the novel, Naher, I'm sorry if I butcher the name, but I think that's how you pronounce it. I've been told before, but my mind is like Nemo. Well, not Nemo, Dory, bro. Oof, it's terrible. But she lived in Kuwait, and in Kuwait things were good for a while. I mean, there was still a level of corruption, and yes, like, Palestinians were still very much frowned upon for quite a lot of the things that were happening, because at the time, Saddam Hussein was the leader of Iran. I don't want to get this wrong. Could be Iraq, Iran. And there was a lot of Palestinians living in Kuwait at the time. But what ended up happening was the Palestinian leader ended up signing on board with Saddam Hussein. They made like a deal, and Saddam Hussein ended up invading Kuwait. So then all the Kuwaitis used to just like hate the Palestinians, blame the Palestinians. Every Palestinian, therefore, from then on forward, was an informant, was like a spy, was conspirers against Kuwait and like their country and all that sort of stuff. And they were kind of just like frowned upon and hated at the time. But what was interesting though, and what I found fascinating about Saddam Hussein's invasion into Kuwait, was that Naher described it as a liberation. And the reason why was because the power of money and currency died, and people now didn't have to work, they didn't have to pay for rent, they didn't have to pay for any of these things. And what ended up happening was for the next 6 months, people just lived. And the standard of living didn't decrease, it increased. People were now doing things that they loved. They were spending more time with their family, their loved ones, their friends, their neighbors. Communities became stronger because people came together to just do the most simple things, but it fortified relationships. So simple things as like, the women coming together and baking dough together, the men coming together and building stuff together. And they were doing that not out of gain, but just to help others. If I had an abundance, I would give away, because why did I need it? There's other people that also need it too, and it's not going to benefit me in any way because it's not going to give me more. What do I need more for? All I need is what I need, and that's it. Do you know what I'm saying? So it bred like a different type of liberation, and I think that's such a beautiful thing, and I've always wondered what life would be like to live like that. So that was something that the book like describes so nicely, and you can kind of see like a different way of living, like a different manner of living. But unfortunately though, for other people who don't seek freedom in that sense and like living in like a very caring and loving environment, it didn't benefit them, because then how am I going to make money here? Who's going to be in charge, and how am I going to reign power over these people? And how is that going to benefit me? Do you get what I'm saying? It's a very selfish way of thinking. And of course, the US, what they decided to do was label Saddam Hussein as bad, as someone negative, as almost like a terrorist and a danger and a threat to capitalism and democracy, because he was liberating countries in that manner. And what they ended up doing was invading Kuwait killing thousands and just killing like many innocent people for the sake of strategic gain, being able to put somebody in that country in charge that they trust, or at least they can form a relationship with that benefits them, that came at the cost of many innocent lives, that destroyed like, you know, the environment, nature, it destroyed so many things, and it came at such an ugly cost. And after that, like, everything kind of went back to how it was before, and if not worse. And people were unhappy again, people were struggling again, people, you know, had to suffer the consequences of living life under like under the rule of ignorance in a way. It's quite sad, man. It's really quite sad. And after that happened, and then the Kuwaitis were back in control, they targeted the Palestinians because they said, oh, it was your leader who co-conspired with Saddam Hussein to formulate all of this that had happened, and now, you know, we want you out. It's all your fault. Like, you don't belong here. You never belonged here. We want you out. So you're forced to leave, innit? And the way it describes it happening too was horrific. Like, a darkness over the land for an extended period amount of time, just fog and black smoke everywhere for an extended period of time. The loud thunders and I don't know, noises of bangs and this and that and the next, which would be bombs and guns and everything going off and explosions. Like, it was just such a morbid way to describe how it all went down. And the contrast between the liberation and that was just two different things. And it's funny though, because the US would justify it as a liberation on their front, putting their finger in pies where it doesn't belong, fam. Putting their finger in pies and masking it as something positive for the sake of their own gain, fam, their own gain. And you see the same thing happening today in Palestine. The same thing happening today in Palestine. So that's what I kind of wanted to talk about and go down the road of that. Like, things like money are important tools. Yes, they're important tools, but they should only be tools. They shouldn't be your end all and be all. They shouldn't be the God that you worship. They shouldn't be your number one priority and value in life, because then it can lead you down a road of corruption, and not just corruption in terms of like doing corrupt things, but corruption of your own soul, of your own moral compass, of the guidance that like allows you to walk through life, you know what I mean, as a good human being. So yeah, man, it's quite scary. When I read that and I heard that, like, I don't think people in general see the other side, the receiving end of what powers like the US do, and to see that is quite eye opening. Like, to read it, to be taken to a place like that, like through this book, is incredibly eye opening. I already knew that like politics was like a very like weird game, fam. Such a weird game, because it's just a few people that are in a position of power and manipulation that play and toy with the lives of millions for the sake of their own gain, whether that be power, control, wealth, whatever it is. And that's a scary thing to think about, you know. But it's not just scary to think about, it's scary to live in, because that's real life. And I think, fortunately enough, and quite sad actually, like, I've been brought up and I live on this side of the fence, where I'm not on the receiving side. I'm on the side that dishes that out, fam. And fair enough, like, I live in a society where it's well protected. Like, if anything were to happen, you would like to think, I don't know, the UK have the tools and the accessibility and you know, the defense to like make sure that its population isn't affected. But really and truly, what are you trying to defend it from? There is no threat. Like, people on that side of the fence just living their life and minding their own business. They don't agree with certain things how you like of what like the leaders in this country might do, or they might not agree with certain things that the leaders of another country might do, like the US. But doesn't mean they're coming for them though. They might just sit in their chair and criticize, but that doesn't give you a reason to like go over there and be like, okay, well, if you don't agree, that's because you're wrong and what I do is right. So I'm going to impose what I do on you. But when I tell it to my people, I'm going to be like, you're the threat. And this is why we're doing that to you. It's bizarre, fam. It's bizarre. It's bizarre. It's so crazy. And 9 out of 10 times, the other side of the fence, the receiving end, the side that's on the receiving end of things, probably live a peaceful and better life. Granted, they might not have all the riches in the world, but being rich, fam, isn't a question of money in your pocket, bruv. Being wealthy isn't a question of how much possession you own and have. Being rich is of the spirit and of the heart, fam. Being wealthy is of the mind, fam. Doing the right thing, the good thing, having enough for myself, and anything in abundance, helping others. That's what real richness and real wealth is. Do you know what I'm saying? But I don't know. It's something that's crazy, fam. Something that I think about, and I have been thinking about regularly, that like hasn't really been sitting too well inside of me, because I can't help but see it in that manner. Do you know what I mean? I really can't help but see it in that manner. Like, for politicians to be, and this is something that I see recently as well, like and it's not the country itself, the people in that country that do this, it's just the people that are in power that are playing with lives like that. Like, the other day I was reading the news on Al Jazeera, and like what I saw was a little bit like alarming, fam. It was a bit distressing in a way, because you have the US, which are helping Israel fund their side of the war, right, on innocent lives and innocent people, and they're endorsing the war, fam. They're paying for like quite a lot of it, and they see the atrocities that the Israeli army and like the Israeli leaders are doing, fam. Calling it ethnic cleansing, bruv, which is basically stopping UN workers from giving aid to the people of Palestine that need this aid for the sake of an ethnic cleansing. So they're pretty much starving them to death, letting them die from their wounds and their injuries, and not doing anything about it. And the US have funded that to begin with, and now that like all of that stuff is in the public eye, you have the leader of the US saying, if you continue doing this, we're going to cut the funding, or we're going to stop the funding. And they've been saying that for the past year as like a mere slap on the wrist, and as like a front, for the sake of what, bruv? For the sake of gaining more voters so that they can continue staying in power. You're playing with people's lives here just so that, or just because you want to continue having power, because you want to rule over a nation, because you want to continue having a status of president or this particular like position that I hold, fam. And that is what putting superficial things as your number one priority in life leads you down, fam. And it's scary, because the US is one of the biggest like powerhouses in the world, fam. They control a lot, they manipulate a lot, they have a lot of power and influence in what happens in the world, fam. And that's what they're doing. They're playing games with people's lives, because they're not going to do nothing about what Israel's doing and the ethnic cleansing and stuff. They ain't going to do nothing about that. They're only saying that for the sake of gaining voters. But you really think they're going to cut the funding? Absolutely not. The US make billions and trillions off of war. They're going to continue funding that because they're going to get so much money. Again, justifying doing bad things for the sake of your own gain, fam. Greed, fam. Corruption, fam. It's a mess. And not only does that happen there, but it happens everywhere else in the world that stuff like this is going on, fam. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. So these were things that I weren't fully aware of, but just reading a bit more and understanding, the lens of the other side from the receiving end of these things really opens your eyes to what the world is actually like, what the actual battle between good and evil is. Do you know what I'm saying? It's not what like you're told it is by these people. They're giving you one version of the story because this is what suits them and it's what's going to keep you in line, and not asking questions and not actually like saying, hold on a minute, that ain't right, fam. Do you know what I'm saying? So I don't know, man. I think a lot of us can be ignorant to a lot of things because unfortunately, like, life requires us to give attention to things that, like, in the bigger picture don't fucking matter. They don't matter. But that's just the system that we unfortunately live in, fam. You know what I'm saying? But we all have a choice. I live in that system. But somehow I still find time in my day to read, to educate myself at least a little, to be a little less ignorant, fam. I'm ignorant, bro. Like, my time is consumed by doing things I don't want to do. I.e., waking up early hours in the morning, going to work a job that, like, I don't really want to do, slaving myself away for the sake of earning money so that I can survive. The concept of that alone is nuts. Man gotta do something that I don't want to do just so that I can have a roof over my head and have food on my table. The concept of it alone is crazy, and the money that I earn through slaving away, before it even reaches my pocket, a chunk of that's gone to who? The government, fam. To pay for services that I ain't even asked for, bruv. To pay for services that I don't even know where it's going. They tell me one thing, but little do I know it's going somewhere else. Probably going in their own pockets. They find loopholes to put it in their own pockets. So, yeah, man, I'm just as ignorant too. Like, my time is consumed a lot by things that I don't want to be doing, and you know, by just mainly living in this system that's just a mess, fam. It's just an absolute mess. But I still at least try to find time to just educate myself a little bit more and open my eyes to what's actually going on and just learn, fam. Learn, gain a bit more wisdom, gain a bit more like savviness. Like, I don't know, man. Just try, fam. Make the effort. Do you know what I'm saying? It's crazy, bro. It's so crazy. There was a quote in this book as well, because in this book they reference James Baldwin. I'll see if I can find it. I might not be able to, but I'll see if I can find it. And it talks about stuff like that. Do you know what I'm saying? So James Baldwin, he writes to, I think it's his nephew, a letter, and doesn't really explain why these things happen, but in essence kind of explains why these things happen, innit? And I'll see if I can find it here. Here you go. And it says stuff, look, this is what it says, innit? It says, there's no reason for you to try to become like white people, and there is no basis whatever for the impertinent assumption that they must accept you. The really terrible thing, old buddy, is that you must accept them. And I mean that very seriously. You must accept them, and accept them with love. For these innocent people have no other hope. They are, in effect, still trapped in a history which they do not understand. And until they understand it, they cannot be released from it. They have had to believe for many years and for innumerable reasons that black men are inferior to white men. Many of them indeed know better. But as you will discover, people find it very difficult to act on what they know. To act is to be committed, and to be committed is to be in danger. And I think what you find as well is that a lot of these people in these positions of power know that more than half of the things that they do are bad. Just a simple lying, saying you're going to do one thing and then not doing it and doing something completely different. The unjustified act of funding wars, especially like wars that have no real meaning, like no real like actual backing for why they're occurring. But for some reason, because that's all they've known and that's what their history kind of is like, they just continue to doing that. They just continue doing that over and over and over and over and over again, rather than taking a risk and being like, you know what, fam, this isn't right. This is not what I want to do. So I don't know, man. I don't know. Shit's a bit crazy, bruv. Shit's a little crazy, man. Things like that for me need to change, bruv. I think there is gonna come a point in this world where the leaders of the world won't be like that no more, bruv. Do you know what I'm saying? I think they will be slightly different. Things will take a turn, they will take a change. In the Bible it says, after Christ came, it was 1,000 years of peace, then 1,000 years of chaos. And once that's done, there'll be another 1,000 years of peace. Think about it. We're in the year 2026. That's 2,000 years after Jesus supposedly came and died. So split that into two. You had 1,000 years of peace and 1,000 years of chaos. Jesus died at 33. So it's a wild guess and it's a wild assumption, but 2033 could see the change of quite a lot, fam. You know what I'm saying? It's the end of 1,000 years of chaos, fam. And the pendulum swings back again. It's that duality, innit? We live in a pendulum, fam. Everyone lives in a pendulum. I live in a pendulum. My life is constantly back and forth between order and chaos. You know what I'm saying? My life is constantly back and forth between good and bad, between organized, disorganized, between healthy, unhealthy, between, I don't know, like happy and sad, feeling good, feeling bad. I don't know, man. It's a pendulum, fam. It always swings back and forth, bro. So yeah, bro. Those were just some thoughts that I was thinking about. And also, to tie into that too, like something else that I was thinking about, which ties into that too, yeah, is that everything you do, most of the choices you make, they come at a cost. Everything has a price. And what I mean by that is, if what you want to gain is something bad, the price in your life tends to be something good. So, for this instance here, we were just talking about like financial gain. If the US leaders want to gain money and do that in a very greedy, selfish and corrupt way, the cost of that, which if you turn around and look, is the lives of innocent people, fam. Because they're funding that and they're gaining that through war. The cost of that comes at the destruction of countries, the destruction of nature. Take businesses that only care about earning money. They don't care about the environment. They don't care about nature. They don't care about protecting like the world that gives, bruv. They don't care about that. Take big like food producing companies. Let's just take like, for example, a mass producing farm that has hundreds and thousands of cows for the sake of just producing as much meat as possible because they just want to gain as much money as possible. That comes at the cost of health. Comes at the cost of the health of the cow, which when they butcher tends to be stiff and like stale meat, not good quality meat, which then in turn isn't good for us to eat, and it comes at the cost of our health. It comes at the cost of the environment that they have to place these hundreds of thousands of cows in, which is not sustainable. So you're not just only damaging humans, but you're damaging the earth. It comes at the cost of not just then the environment, but the other animals that live in the environments. How much of forests have been deforested for the sake of making bigger agricultural plants, and now it's made a lot of species become endangered or extinct. It's chopped down rainforests to the point of like not really going back, and it's affecting not just now where animals live, but the respiratory system of the world itself. Everything has a cost, fam. Everything has a cost. Everything has a cost. And if it's a gain that's so great, the cost is also going to be so great. Or the price is going to be so great. So what tends to happen is if what you want to gain is something bad, and sometimes it's not as clear as black and white, but if what you want to gain is something bad, the price tends to be something good. But on the contrary though, if what you want to gain is something good, the price of that is something bad. And what that looks like now is, take for example on a personal level, if what you want to gain is fitness and health, well then the price is giving up bad habits. I'm paying for my fitness and my health by sacrificing and getting rid of my bad habits. So to gain, let's say for example, financial wealth on a greedy one, I now have to sacrifice good things in my life, whether that is time with family, whether that is charity, like giving away and being comfortable with just giving your surplus away and helping others. That could be like good and honest relationships, because you might end up cheating somebody that you trust and love out of anything for the sake of your own financial gain or your own personal gain. And that's a sacrifice of something bad. But if it's on the other way around, where what you want to gain is something good, the price you pay is something bad. Like you sacrifice something bad for it. I mean, ask yourself what works better and what should be like the obvious answer for what you should be picking and choosing. Do you know what I'm saying? So if what I want to gain is, if what I'm trying to gain is helping my community, if that's like what I want to gain, then the price I pay for that is getting rid of bad habits, getting rid of being greedy, getting rid of being stingy, getting rid of cheating people out of certain things, getting rid of like, I don't know, having like corrupt thoughts and having malicious intent. And in turn what I gain is a good spirit and a community driven spirit where I can help others. Is that really a bad thing? Not really. The price I paid was actually a benefit for myself. So yeah, man. The reason why I thought about that too was that book too. So I heard in the story, when she was young, wanted to help her brother go university, and obviously at the time she was living in Kuwait, and the money that she was earning wasn't enough to send her brother to university, and the opportunity came for her to basically become a prostitute. And she took it because the gain would have been enough money to send her brother to go university. Now, the price that she paid for that, was being raped, having her womb destroyed so badly because of a messed up abortion that she couldn't have kids. Came at the cost of, like, in a way, her mental health, because now people, well, she didn't want to be seen as a whore, and she was scared that like people would look at her in that manner. And that's a big price to pay, man. Mental health is something that isn't cheap, man, and it's not something that should be taken for granted. Do you know what I'm saying? And when I read that, bro, when I was reading that particular thing, that's when I finally understood what making a deal with the devil looks like. You don't make a deal with the devil himself. You make a deal with the mere distractions he puts in front of you. Whether that be the gain of fame, the gain of fortune, the gain of power, the gain of influence. That is the price you pay, fam. That is the sacrifice that people talk about when they say, I sacrifice my soul for the devil. That is the price they pay. They lose their morality, they lose, like the good things in their life that they were either born with or that was given to them. Yeah, when I read that, fam, I had to pause for a second because that shook me to the core, and I finally understood something that I never understood for so long. Like from when I was a little kid, and people used to speak to me about like the Illuminati and like, oh yeah, this rapper sold his soul to the devil so that he could become famous and he could get money and he could become, I don't know, a celebrity. Like, I never understood how, fam. It was always described as he met the devil and he signed a contract in his own blood. But that's a whole lot of garbage, fam. It's bollocks. Do you know what I'm saying? The actual way that they do it is by compromising their own soul, fam, for the sake of gaining what they've asked for. And that is how you make a tie with the devil, bruv. That was a scary realization, fam. That one there shook me to the core, bruv. And I was like, say a little prayer, bruv. God, in my lifetime and in the next, please do not allow me, for whatever reason, to compromise my own soul and my own values for superficial gain, fam. Allow me to have the integrity to stay on a straight and narrow for as long as I live, and no matter what come my way, may my integrity remain, fam. Because it's so easy to get lured into that trap, fam. So damn easy. Yeah, bruv.
We need to watch Tell Me Lies.
Scary stuff, bruv. Scary stuff. These were things that I was thinking about recently, man, and stuff that I wanted to sit down and speak about and articulate, and for some reason, one reason or another, I just never really found the time. I was too distracted, but today had to be the day still. Today had to be the day. Today was the day that I finished that book. Such a good read, man. Highly recommend it. It's called Against the Loveless World by Susan Abulhawa. And yeah, man, just sit down and articulate a few thoughts and just kind of get back into my mind again, innit? In a positive way though, like use my mind for positive things, because recently, boy, I've been living in there and listening to it a bit too much, and sometimes your mind can play tricks on you. Your mind is also a tool, you know? It's not the end all or be all, fam. It's a tool. It's a tool for intellectual ability. It's a tool to learn and discover. But every now and again it plays tricks on you, innit? So this was a nice usage of that tool, fam. And I haven't done this in such a long time, and it's been so nice. It's been so wholesome. So yeah, man, I think I'm gonna cut it there still and land right back. But yeah, man, hopefully from here on forward we can do this a little bit more often, and I can just share some more like intimate and personal thoughts that I've been thinking and going through, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes it could be stuff about this. Sometimes it could be something that's just a little bit more personal. Sometimes it could just be wild and wacky things, you know what I'm saying? But today it had to be this one here still. So yeah, man. Thanks for tuning in. Highly appreciate it to those that, you know, listen and take the time out of the day. Man, I appreciate you a lot still. I appreciate you lot a lot for listening and tuning in. So yeah, man. Hopefully from here on to bigger things, better things, and yeah, on to the next one, fam. On to the next one.